Hey there, welcome to WTMK Live, your holistic health and unconventional foodie destination. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about dessert. Who doesn't love dessert, right? But here's the problem. Most of the time when you are adopting a healthier eating lifestyle, somehow dessert doesn't quite fit in. Well, I am here to tell you that you can absolutely get that into your life. Let's see. What am I doing here? Hola, can everybody see me okay? This whole new thing that came up for polls on, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, as you're hopping on, please make sure you say hello. Let me know where you're coming in from. In case we have not yet met, my name is Colette Wydeck. I am a certified integrative nutrition health coach, and I'm super passionate about helping women who are struggling to lower and control their blood sugar, lower their cholesterol, and release the weight. So, hey, Doreen, welcome in, girl. So can everybody hear me and see me okay? Because I have this like weird thing for polls coming up on my post here, and it's like the first time ever, so I'm like, what? So, hey, Ellen. Hey, Sarah. Okay, so what I would love for you to do, first of all, is let me know what is your favorite dessert. Put that in the comments, and let's see how many of us have tastes when it comes to dessert. But first, before we go, hey, Ellen, so glad you're here with me. So what I want to do, first of all, is I want to get this started off. So let me just show you what we're doing. We're going to make blueberry cobbler, and I have a whole story about that I want to tell you about. But the first thing we're going to do is, and this is just a little 8-inch iron skillet. You can cook this dish like I said, in a little 8-inch pan like this. You could put it in a small, whatever small baking dish you have, or you could even use like individual ramekins like this, little ones, and just make like 4 individuals. That would be cool. But whatever, this recipe is going to serve 4 people. So the very first thing you do is you put butter, and this is just 2 tablespoons of organic grass-fed butter, and you put it in your oven, in a cold oven, which is why I had to do this first. So we're going to put it on 350, and we're going to let the oven warm up with the butter in the pan. And as soon as the oven is heated up, then we're going to be able to do the rest of our stuff. So, you love pumpkin anything. Chocolate anyway. Oh, that's girls after my own heart. I love chocolate and pumpkin as well. So, Ellen, you're going to definitely have to make the recipe for the pumpkin muffins that I made a couple of weeks ago, because they are super duper delish. Okay, and Doreen, I have some amazing chocolate brownie recipes on my website, so you're going to have to check those out. My website, hey, Denise, how are you doing today? Chocolate cake. Yep, Denise, I've got a delicious chocolate cake recipe on my website as well, so you're going to have to check that out. Super, super delicious, and you can actually eat it. It's healthy for you. So, what? Chocolate cake is healthy? Yes, it is. You betcha. Okay, so, well, let me just say, it is the unconventional foodie way. So, let me just tell you a story about why I'm making blueberry cobbler today. When I was growing up, when I was a little girl, my grandparents lived in Maine. And we used to go and visit them every summer. And, of course, like most grandmothers, my grandmother was an amazing cook. And she used to make the most delicious blueberry cobbler. And when we would go to visit in the summertime, they had fields and fields and fields of wild blueberries just growing around their property. And so when we would visit, my grandmother would give me a pail. I'd ask my grandmother, Mama, will you make me blueberry cobbler? And she'd say, sure, I'll make you blueberry cobbler. Here's your pail. Go pick me the blueberries, and I'll make it for you. So I would go out in the morning, and with my little pail, and I would go into the fields, and I would come back hours later with a full pail of blueberries, but I was like the color of a blueberry when I got back. My tongue, my lips, my hands, probably all over my clothes too. Because I probably ate like 3 pails worth of blueberries before I ever filled up my pail. But I used to get back to her house, and as promised, she would make me the blueberry cobbler for dessert. And it was so, so good. So I have, one of my treasured things that I have is I actually have my grandmother's recipe that she dictated it to me and I wrote it down. So here's her recipe. You can see it's awfully it's awfully worn, and you can't hardly read it any longer, but it's her recipe. And I was actually kind of shocked to see that there's a cup and a half of sugar in that recipe. I was like, wow, that's way too much sugar. So I've done the unconventional foodie thing with this recipe, and we are going to have blueberry cobbler today. So yes, we are. Yum, yum. And my dear friend Eileen gave me a huge bag of wild Maine blueberries, a frozen bag, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I've had it in my freezer, and I was like, oh, I even have wild Maine blueberries to make my cobbler with. So that's what we're using. You can see wild Maine blueberries look a little different than the cultivated kind that you get in the store usually. As you can see, they're much smaller in size, and they're not quite as sweet, which is maybe why there was so much sugar in my grandmother's recipe. However, you really don't need that much sugar. So what I've done here is this is 2 cups of the blueberries, and to them I have added 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar, and you can see it's starting to make a nice bit of juice in the bottom. They were frozen. I took them out about, I guess it's been about 40 minutes ago. And I mixed up the 1 tablespoon. That's it. Just 1 tablespoon of sugar in with the blueberries, and it's making a nice little juice there. Now here, this is the cake portion of our cobbler right here. This is 1/2 cup of almond flour. It is 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. That's what's in, and 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar. So that's what's in here. So you can see there's not a whole lot in the way of dry ingredients in this recipe. But this recipe also, hey Lisa, this recipe is also gluten-free. So for those of you who are have gluten sensitivities, this is another great recipe for you. And a lot of my recipes are gluten-free, and the reason for that is because when you're trying to make something healthy, let's bring this back for a second. When you're trying to make something healthy, not only do you need to substitute out the kind of sugar or sweetener that you use in the recipe, because sugar is no good for you, but you also need to do something with the flour as well. And the reason that most of my desserts are gluten-free is because when you substitute regular flour for a gluten-free flour like coconut flour or almond flour, and those are my 2 flours of choice, because they all have lots and lots of fiber. So when you're talking about dessert, something that is automatically going to have a little bit more sugar in it, you need to have something like fiber, some extra fiber in that dessert as well, to bump up the fiber content so that it slows down your digestion, so that the sugar that's in the dessert is not going to boom hit your bloodstream so fast and spike your blood sugar. So we want to have you nice and even. So that's why my favorite flours of choice when I'm making a dessert are coconut or almond flour, and sometimes I use both. Okay, so let's go back down here now. We're going to talk about the rest of this, and my oven just clicked off, so we're all ready to go. So in here, in my measuring cup here, I have 1/2 cup of almond milk, and about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And to that, I'm going to add 2 eggs. And we'll just beat this up. You know what? I'm going to get this pan out of here because I don't want the butter to burn. So you can see it's all melted and all bubbly and nice, ready for us to stick our cake in there. So let's whip this up real fast. Alrighty. And then we're going to just put in our dry ingredients. And we're going to mix them up, you know, kind of like a pancake batter a little bit. You know what? Did I put a quarter cup? I think I only put a quarter cup and not a half cup. So let me get another little bit of, yeah, I did. I only used a half a cup. I mean a quarter cup. So let me get that in there. Okay, now let me bring this over here. Remember that it's hot, so now we're going to just pour this right into the bottom. Super, super easy. And then we're going to put the blueberries right on the top. And that's it. And then they're going to go right in the oven. How good does that look already, right? And we're going to just bake that for about 20 minutes, between 20 and 30, depending on how your oven is. Everybody's oven is different, just like nutrition. Nutrition is different. So I got that started for 30 minutes. Probably won't take that long, but we'll check it in just a few minutes so I can let you see what it looks like. So do you have any questions? Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Ellen. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Did you oil the pan besides butter? No, Denise, I did not. No need to do that. You just put in the butter, let it melt in the oven. When the oven is heated up to the 350 and it cuts off, you pour in your batter, you put your fruit on top, stick it back in the oven. That's it. So you see, what did it take us? Like 5 minutes, and we've got a really delicious dessert in the oven. And the other good news is that dessert's going to be really good for you. I did the nutrition, like all of my recipes, the nutrition information is on the recipe on my website. And the recipe is already there. So, but as soon as we get off the live show here, I will put the link to the recipe in the comments here. But I'm pretty sure that it was like 13 grams, I think, of sugar per serving. So obviously you want to make sure that you have your dessert. If you're going to have this for dessert, you go really low on like sweet things, you know, earlier in the day so that you don't go over your, you know, how much sweets that you should be having every day. But the good news is that most of those sugars are the natural sugars that are in the blueberries. So that makes it so much healthier because blueberries are really, really good for you. Here's the other cool thing. You could make this recipe and you could use, if you don't care for blueberries, you could use strawberries, you could use raspberries, you could use peaches. Oh my goodness, how good would that be? You diced up some peaches and put that in there. Delish. Another great thing would be apples. You could dice up some apples, and in addition to the 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar, I would also add in like maybe a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon and mix that in with the apples and then pour it. Oh, so good. Yes, absolutely so good. Let's see. What do you suggest to use if you don't have an iron skillet? You could use any small baking dish that you have, Ellen. And like I even said at the beginning, you could even make it in 4 individual ramekins like this, that would be fine. So you could absolutely do that. Does not have to be an iron skillet. I was just asked by one of my members to do something for an iron skillet, and it just so happens that I always make my cobbler in my iron skillet. So that worked out good for me. But yeah, if you don't have an iron skillet, no worries. You can cook it in any other, like a small Pyrex that you have. You know, because it's just an 8-inch skillet. So, you know, a small Pyrex pan or some other baking pan that you have that you use. Oh, you're welcome, Ellen. Okay, let's see. This looks any different now. Oh yeah, it's already starting to cook. So I'm going to bring it out so you can see what it's going to start to look like. Okay, as you can see, I have to put this right back in the oven. But as you can see, this crust is starting to come up over top of the fruit, and the fruit is starting to sink down to bottom. So when it's done, the whole crust will be like on the top, and it will be a nice golden brown color. Delish. So that's what it's going to look like. And oh, awesome, Alan. I can't wait for you to make it, and make sure you come back and post and let us know. Put a comment here on the video and let us know how you like it. And also, it'd be awesome if you would give a rating for my recipe on the website. Okay, so that's going to do it for me for today. I hope you guys have you're having a wonderful Thursday. You have a great weekend planned. I will see you right back here next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, here's to your health. Bye-bye.